Hey, this is Troy from Planet 76. We've got some really good Sixers-focused content coming your way today. Make sure you subscribe to the pod so you can be in the know when we release new content. Enjoy the show. Michael, do you know what episode this is?
76. Woo!
Do you know what's the name of this podcast?
Here's to 76 more on Planet 76. It's just water, by the way.
Planet 76, episode 76.
Woo!
We've been talking about this one for a while, and if you've been a fan of Planet 76 for a while, you might know that as well. So happy to make it this far. Looking forward to the next milestone, which I guess is 100, which will be here before we know it. So, yeah, we're gonna have a short episode tonight. We're gonna talk about that even a little bit. How we've made it 76 episodes, and that's a feat, and just a unique one tonight. So, pretty cool there. We'll talk about Joel Embiid. He's been back in the lineup for the Sixers. James Harden set to return here tomorrow. So we're recording Sunday night. He's set to return tomorrow at Houston, right?
Yes.
Is that correct? So, good stuff. Good stuff. But yeah, man, this is a big deal. This is our 76th episode. Why don't you just give me your kind of general thoughts on all that and what that's meant and what that means and moving forward with the pod and all that.
Planet 76, episode 76. And yeah, we're just going to keep rolling episodes out. We haven't stopped yet, so we're not going to stop now. And we are excited. I think I speak for Troy and myself as well. We're very excited to continue this podcast. And maybe one day we'll get an NBA player. Maybe one day we'll get a Sixers player on the podcast. So we're going to keep chipping away at that. But yeah, thanks to everybody who has shown us love on here, has been rocking with us for however long, whether you started watching us yesterday or however long. Thank you. We appreciate that. And Sixers, James Harden, the bearded one, will return. Hey, James, if you're listening, can you please unblock me on Instagram? Thanks a lot. I still have no idea why you blocked me, but you know what? That's fine. He's back tomorrow. He's supposed to be back tomorrow. And let me just say with certainty that this team needs him. And obviously they've found success without him, but he's arguably your best offensive player, so your offense is not going to look as good, or it's not going to be as good if your second, arguably first best offensive player, well, second best or best, not first best, but is not playing. He hasn't played for almost a month.
Right.
And again, we do want to recognize and preface this with the Sixers have found success. They have still been good. And I'm not taking that for granted, but you need your whole team back. Any team needs their whole team back. You don't win without your whole team. You're not the best you can be without your whole team, especially when it's a guy like Harden. So, hopefully that's all good. Hopefully that timeline is still intact with him returning tomorrow. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. And
looking forward to it. Very excited.
Yeah, you just hope it's not, obviously too early, for him.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it's the right time, and I would guess that, again, with him being out, nearly a month at this point, that he's ready, and the team that he's been working with has got him ready, and so he's ready to roll, which is a good thing, a welcome thing from us on Planet 76 and the Sixers organization as a whole, I'm sure. Kind of an interesting last few games for the Sixers. So they did have a win against the Hawks. Joel Embiid played in that one, had 30 points, 7 assists in that one as well. Tobias Harris led the team with 10 boards. 104-101, so a big win for the Sixers in that one. And then they took their talents on the road to Cleveland and got smacked. And then a comeback I guess you could say it that way, against the Memphis Grizzlies that fell just a little bit short. That's the one I wanted to camp out on just a little bit tonight with this episode, because I had a few problems in that game late fourth quarter, just as a fan noticing some stuff. So we'll get into that. But, as a whole, as we talk about James Harden, set to return, like you mentioned, we've stayed afloat. DeAnthony Melton and Shake Milton, you can't say enough about what they've done in James Harden's absence, in Tyrese Maxey's absence. However, it's good to get him back. So why don't you answer this? And a question that I've seen circulating around on NBA Twitter or whatever. Those guys have played well in their starting role position in the absence of those other guys. So we've talked about this a little bit last week, but now that it's here, now that James Harden is set to return, what does it look like for him to come back in? And what's DeAnthony Melton and Shake Milton's role now? How's it different? How's it the same? Plus, minus, pros and cons, whatever you want to describe that.
Yeah. Well, also, I do want to shout out Tobias Harris. You kind of alluded to it, but he's been, I'm just going to keep it a buck. He's been playing some of the best basketball of his career.
Yeah.
So, in this past week and a half, 2 weeks of Sixers. So, shout out to Tobias Harris. He's been fantastic, and I'm hoping he also continues the role he's on. But as for guys like Milton and Melton, I think it's going to be an adjustment for both parties in terms of Harden returning and Milton and Melton readjusting to the readjustment, if that makes sense, of Harden is now in the Sixers, so you have to get acclimated to that, and then he's off the Sixers because he's injured, so then they get acclimated to that. But then he's coming back, so they have to get reacclimated for a third time. So I'm just hoping that it translates, and I really don't see a reason as to why it wouldn't, because, and we've talked about it on here too, Shake Milton has always thrived off of volume. He's a guy that if you give him minutes, he's going to produce, and he's going to give you what you need, and usually it's scoring. We've seen him pass the ball very well. He had a couple high assist games. He's going to give you what you need. And DeAnthony Melton, I am even less concerned about because he fits so seamlessly. He can play with anybody on the floor. No matter who he's with, he can make an impact. He can do things that help you and do things that are valuable. He did a lot with Harden, too. He and Harden were... I think we might have talked about it on here, too, but him and Harden ran a lot of pick and roll together, which is weird because they're both guards. But Melton he benefits immensely from that because pick and roll comes in, Melton sets a screen on the ball with Harden. Harden's just in space. Defenses collapse. Melton's at the rim. He rolls. His wingspan is, I honestly think he has a 7-foot wingspan. I have no idea.
It's close.
But he has long arms. He can just catch the ball. He's a good finisher around the rim. He's pretty crafty. That's a really mutually beneficial relationship. So I think Melton is going to fit very, not seamlessly, because, like I said, it's going to be an adjustment for both parties, but I'm a lot less concerned with Melton than I am with Milton.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's something that I personally had not thought about, but I think that's a fair assessment. I think, and given, they've both been in the league a while now, Melton and Milton, but Melton's been in another environment. He's used to adapting and changing, and but yeah, his game translates well in every team. You put him on any of these teams in the NBA, he's a valuable asset, off the bench starting, coming in for defensive specialty, whatever it is, he's an asset. So I think that's a great point. I would love to see Shake just continue to be aggressive when he's in, but not over aggressive. Obviously, there's a balance involved with that, especially if he's in the lineup with Harden as well. Because I saw, alluding again to the Memphis game, there's a little bit of Shake trying to do a little too much late in that game, I thought. That kind of hurt the Sixers, and so we'll see how that plays out. But he, again, overall, the Sixers are 12-11 now, and a major reason that they're not, 8-15 is because of DeAnthony Melton and Shake Milton, keeping this team afloat. They've been playing a heavy dose of minutes. which I think they're both thriving in, again, and like you alluded to, and they're both enjoying that. Like, these are guys who are used to coming off the bench who are now, I mean, they're playing basketball, and they're called to go out there and play
They're
40
hooping.
minutes a game, and so they like that. So credit to them. Credit to Tobias Harris, too. He's been good. And so does his role look a little different? Do you think maybe that's the boost of confidence that he needed? Maybe, again, if we're being glass half full kind of guys, maybe for all three of these guys, the more involvement they've had in the offense as of late is going to benefit them when the whole team's at full strength. Is there some truth to that?
There could be. I think there you could take some truth away from that, and it's also going to be an adjustment for Harris too, because he is also a guy who he's not that he's a high usage guy, but he's not as seamless of a fit as a guy like Milton, because he's a bit more ball dominant, if that makes sense. He isn't as active off the ball as D'Anthony Melton, and usually guys who are more active off the ball can fit better and can play alongside other guys who need the ball better, or I guess I should say at a higher level, because if you have a guy like Harris, he needs the ball, and that's not a slight to him at all, but he's a guy who likes a couple dribbles, pull up jumper, post up, post fade kind of thing. So he's obviously still going to be a good player, but the question is going to be, can he still sustain that level of production? And that is going to require him still getting the ball at he's going to need the ball a certain amount of times, and yeah, well, I think that's a bigger question mark than the other guys.
Okay. Yeah, now that you mention it, so let's talk Memphis. I got a lot to say. I don't know why I have a lot to say, but it's all over the place, so bear with me. One,
it's okay. I usually am pretty all over the place.
One, I'm an out of market guy for Sixers games, so I get what I can get, and so I watched that game with the Memphis broadcast. Not a fan. I get that. If I was a Memphis fan listening to the Sixers broadcast, I might not be a fan of what we're doing either. But was not a fan of that broadcast. One, they picked a little at one moment. I forget the exact context, but they picked a little fun at James Harden. They were saying, he's getting set to return soon, and it was kind of, if I remember correctly, and there's no way we're going to go and track this down, so you're just going to have to take my word for it. But if I remember correctly, they're talking about James Harden's coming back. They're talking about what we're talking about, how D'Anthony Melton, Shake Milton have been, kind of carrying the load offensively, especially from the guard position, Tobias Harris involvement and all that. And, they said, they're like, well, basically paraphrasing, they're like, well, that's about to change because James Harden is coming back and he's going to have the ball in his hands the whole time. And, he's going to be dribbling out the clock the whole time, and some comments like that.
Just haters.
So that was strike one. But then strike two came Jaren Jackson Jr. He had that. It was a nice block, right?
Mm-hmm.
Memphis was up by 6 with 27 seconds left in the game. AKA, the game is over at that point. Are we in agreement? Even if Embiid dunks that ball, it's
for the most part,
pretty much a wrap.
Mm-hmm.
6-point game, and they acted like it was NBA Finals, Game 7, tie game, 20 seconds. Jaren Jackson Jr. goes up for that block. It was insane. Saying, block of the year, all this, all that. Again, credit. It was a great block, but that was borderline, to me, that was borderline garbage time. Like, it's almost over. So I just thought it was hysterical how they went off on that. And then I've got some numbers, but before I get there, and we'll wrap up with this Memphis game, but before I get there, do you have any other thoughts on the Memphis game before I continue?
I did not watch a single second of the Memphis game, and I guess a good thing, maybe, because weren't the Sixers down a lot? I was checking the score. I was box score watching for the night. So.
Right, yeah, box score watching throughout the day. You can kind of tell how the game was trending. Sixers got outscored 35-24 in the second and then 28-22 in the third. So outscored by 17 in the middle two quarters. That was the story of the game. That was the problem. They tried to fight back in the fourth quarter. Again, the final score was 117-109.
Yeah.
But let me give you some numbers, and then let me give you some of the issues I saw at the end of that game, and then we'll wrap it up. But so if you didn't watch the Memphis game, listen up. Here's what happened. The Memphis Grizzlies had 19 offensive rebounds. 19 offensive rebounds. Steven Adams, he had 9 points. But if you take out his defensive rebounds, he still got to double digits. Think about that.
How many rebounds did he
Adams, 10 offensive rebounds,
Oh my
6
God.
defensive boards for 16. He had 9 points. He had 3 blocks. He had 3 steals. So, yeah, you can imagine the
Defensive
Memphis Grizzlies
masterclass from
announcers
Steven
were kind of
Adams.
going off. They were going off about his performance as well. And now he did. He did have a great game, obviously. However, 19 offensive rebounds is not okay. Second thing, if you look at the box score, this is a team who shot 40. The Memphis Grizzlies only shot 43%. And I say only because they still got to 117 points while only making 11 threes. And I say only because, for context, they got to 122 tonight, did the Grizzlies. I just looked on 15 made threes. So, 12 points less, and they scored just a handful less from the field. And, I mean, the Sixers are giving up a lot of points lately. And I get that the NBA and defense, it gets made fun of sometimes, but they're giving up a lot of points. Additionally, okay, late game. So the Sixers are chipping away. Let me tell you the story. Sixers are chipping away. They're fighting. They cut it probably from 15 to 8, about the 4-minute mark. And I believe they got a steal or a rebound or a deflection or something. They start going the other way. They push it ahead to Daniel House. He gets it on the wing. He takes it baseline. It wasn't a fast break. It wasn't like an easy layup because obviously the defense started getting back because he would have just put it in. But he goes baseline. He just starts running along the baseline to find someone else for a look. Again, down 8 with 4 minutes, and he steps out of bounds.
Oh.
So you're like, oh,
God.
man, like just kills our run. Memphis gets the lead back up to 10. Sixers fight back again, and then here's where I had a couple problems. Additionally, was Shake Milton forced one. I want to say, again, it was an 8-point game, a 6-point game. Obviously a chance to cut it to 1 or 2 possessions with a 2 or a 3, whatever it was. And Shake Milton took one. He dribbled the entire clock and takes a 1-on-3. I think got blocked.
Oh, jeez.
And then I want to say Daniel House forced a shot, Embiid forced a shot, and then it was just over. But they fought back only to just kind of shoot themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the worst games to watch, at least for me. I just hate losing a game like that. And
when you get destroyed on the offensive
Memphis
glass like that,
Yeah.
you're probably going to lose.
And the Memphis announcers mentioned it too. So they're like, Shake Milton's doing this. Is the one thing I agreed with. Shake Milton's doing that, or DeAnthony Melton's forcing a shot, and Tobias Harris, who's been solid for them lately, they say he doesn't get the ball. He was 5 for 6 from 3 on the game. Arguably, maybe not even arguably. I mean, he's with Embiid on the floor, he's the second most proven scorer in the NBA on the Sixers on the floor, and there's no debate on that. Didn't really get a touch late game. Under 4 minutes with 6-8 point deficit that they're trailing. He's made 5 threes in the game. Didn't get him involved in the offense. And so, again, that reminds me that a guy like James Harden's coming back who's going to
help a lot.
Who's going to know. James Harden's, he's going to know Tobias is 5 for 6 from 3. Let's get him the ball. Anyway, rant over. Not a fun one. Wish we would have came back and beat Memphis, but we were unable to do so.
And that's the thing with James Harden too, is people don't understand. He brings so much, and he means so much to this team that you overlook, and it's easy to do that, but you overlook pieces and areas of the game that are missing because he's not there. He is so important to how this team operates, really. And like I said earlier in the episode, you're missing a huge piece of your offense, and a lot of times it's going to be very, very noticeable. So, fingers crossed, James Harden, welcome back, question mark, if you're coming back.
Unblock me, please. Please. All right. Man, so upcoming schedule for the Sixers, again, at Houston. Hopefully we'll see some James Harden in that one. And then home for a long time. Am I reading this
Really?
right? Did you know
What?
this? Did you know? Do you know how long the Sixers are at
2
home?
weeks?
A long time. Yes.
Really?
Precisely 2
Really?
weeks.
I didn't even know that, I swear.
So,
I swear I
okay,
didn't
let
know
me
that.
reel out. The Lakers, Hornets, Kings, Warriors, Raptors, Pistons, Clippers from Friday the 9th to Friday the 23rd. And so the Sixers after Houston, the Sixers' next road game is Christmas Day at the Garden.
Wow, that's literally 2 weeks.
Literally
Oh my
2 weeks in
gosh.
a row at home. 7 games in a home stretch. That's a
Wow.
long time. I'm like, my eyes are, if I'm wrong. They all say
Yeah.
verse. Maybe ESPN's got it
Yeah,
wrong,
it
but
would
I only
say
see one
at,
ad on
right?
there, and
Yeah.
that's Houston.
Wow.
So, but that should be a good one. LA coming to town Friday night. The Wells Fargo Center should be bumping. I might have to get in town for
That's
that one.
gonna
That'd
be an
fun.
amazing game.
Anthony Davis went off tonight. His
Mhm.
the second best performance in the NBA behind Joel Embiid.
Excited.
So
Excited to see AD versus Joel. Very excited. I like Anthony
Yes.
Davis, so, you know.
Yeah.
Saying.
No, he's a talent. When he is healthy, I think the NBA is a better place. You see that tonight with guys talking about him. So, all right, Planet 76, episode 76. That's a wrap, and we will see you next time in the middle of this Sixers long homestand. We'll see you next time. Peace. If you are a Philadelphia 76ers fan, this is the podcast for you. Planet 76, a weekly podcast covering all things Philadelphia 76ers. We'll see you next time.